Welcome to Lisbon, Portugal, where I am working on digitizing the city of Lisbon into Cities Skylines II to scale, or at least as close to scale as possible. In the last episode, we worked on this whole area that I just passed over, and in today's episode, we're going to be working on this area. This area is called Alfama and Cabo Ruivo. This area is home to a mass transit hub and a cargo ship hub, just like the last area. It's kind of like a mirror effect. But let's get into the episode. So, time to go over the objectives for today's video. First, we're going to be preparing the landscape from Alfama down to Cabo Ruivo, and then we're going to be working on adding the roadways, railways, and subways to this area. And then we're going to be working on adding those stations for the train, the rail yard, and the cargo ship hub, as well as the cargo rail hub. So, after that, we're going to be working on putting quay walls in and cleaning all that up. And then once we've done all that, we're done with this episode and on to the next one. So, let's get into it right now. I'm super excited. Let's get that landscape done. And there we go. Landscape's all taken care of, and let's get into it. Okay, now that we've gotten that taken care of, let's get to those roadways, railways, and subways.
And we're back to Editor Jesse. Hey guys, this is my time lapse of working on the roadways, railways, and subways. It's mostly roadways and railways in this video, but I try and clip as much as I can. That way it can go as fast as possible. That way it's not going on for too long. But I have some ideas. So I've always been interested in writing, and I'm actually, I think, pretty good at writing. I've had people actually tell me that they like my stories. So I was thinking, what if I wrote a story about an explorer, someone that comes along, discovers this new land, and basically builds Lisbon on the land? It won't be a historical story by any means. It won't be an actual account of how Lisbon, Portugal was discovered or formed or anything like that. Mind my dog in the background if you can hear her. Well, anyway, my idea is that I have an idea that I could write a story about a young explorer coming to this land and basically creating the city of Lisbon that we see today. And I know that it's going to be a big project just to do that. And maybe I'm a little too hopeful that the project would actually work, or that I'm actually going to have a very good story, or anything like that. I'm not going to be really going over like a year of progress before I even publish any of it. I'll be writing it as I go, and every video that I publish will be basically new content that I've written. I don't know if it's a good idea to do it that way, but I kind of feel like it might be some kind of motivation for me to actually go forward with the whole process. I've always liked the idea of actually writing a book, and I've always wanted to. But I do have problems with focusing on, actually completing tasks like that. Very big tasks, daunting tasks. I don't know if maybe writing one big story would be better than writing a bunch of little stories. I mean, I think a bunch of little stories would actually be a lot easier for me to do, for me to accomplish, where I could just like write a quick story for a quick video, you know? Nice long story is kind of difficult because you have to make sure that you have all the right research done. You have to make sure that you have context and you actually have a plan for the story and everything like that. It seems like a lot of work. that I may not be exactly ready for it all. But it's kind of an idea that I had, because it's different. I don't see any other videos on YouTube where people are building cities on Cities Skylines II. And they're writing original content that is basically kind of going into the whole story. I mean, I've seen other creators kind of come up with stories for their city, but nothing as in detail or in depth as an actual book story, like a novel. So that's kind of my idea, to write a novel based around the city and the creation of the city. Not an actual account of what happened, but just a creation of my own, some imagination at work. Because I think if someone really would fall in love with something like this that I'm doing, it would have to be the story that they would fall in love with. I mean, that's how any, good city is made. The people, that encompass or that live in that land, in that city, end up telling stories to their children about, what they've been through or what the city itself has gone through and stuff like that. And it kind of inspires the children of that city to actually do their own thing, to imagine being able to actually do something like that themselves and to help the city move forward in some way. I mean, I think movies and books also have that same kind of effect on people. It inspires young people or people that have ambition to do something different with their lives. It inspires them to actually do something, instead of just living their life within the walls. It kind of just inspires them to just do more and to be different, to be like the great explorers of our time. The whole reason why I thought about the idea of actually writing a story about exploration and such is because Lisbon, Portugal is actually a very exploration rich society in history. Like the great explorer Vasco da Gama. I mean, there's a bridge named after him in Lisbon, Portugal. And it spans across the river Tagus. And that's actually where I'm going for the next video. I'm going to be working on that area close to the bridge. And I thought, well, why not write an explorative story to basically bring life into the city? I mean, you might be from Portugal. You might know some history of Portugal. Maybe you might be insulted by my story that I create. I don't know. But I kind of had the idea of doing that. That way you could, follow along with my story. Maybe be inspired to make a city of your own. And, kind of picture what it would be like to discover new land and to band together with your friends or your associates to make that land, to prosper and to thrive and so forth. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not going to be an easy journey at all for an explorer to accomplish, building a city as beautiful as Lisbon, Portugal. But it is something that I thought would be interesting. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Would you like me to write a story about an explorer that comes upon this land and basically makes it his own? Would that be interesting to you? I'd love to hear from you. So, anyway, let's get into the video. So, this whole area is pretty much a second half of the city. There's the main center of the city, which used to be like kind of the entrance to the city. It's basically the old entrance to the city. And that's kind of right in between this area and the area that we worked on in the last episode. And to preserve that history with that town square, it's to the left over there. To preserve that history, they made 2 major train stations on either side of it. And they made 2 major rail yards on either side of it, as well as 2 major cargo hubs. And I thought that was really interesting that they kind of divided the city in half like that. Now, having 2 separate rail yards and 2 separate cargo ship hubs kind of sounds a little crazy for a game like this. But I think it'll actually work in the favor of the game. Because traffic management around cargo hubs and stuff like that can be very, very daunting to the actual city infrastructure. Because there's usually a lot of trucks, a lot of, road usage in those areas. And I think spreading it out from one side to the other would actually be quite beneficial for our city's growth and the lack of gridlock in the future. But who knows? Who knows if we're actually going to run into that in the future or not. But my goal is to not run into that. I don't think I will have any real issues with traffic or anything else like that. But you can see with what I'm doing right now is I had to do a lot of improvising with the management of the landscape because I didn't exactly design the map perfectly for the area. I pretty much just designed it quickly and loosely based off the area. That way, depending on how much attention to detail you want to put in or not, you can basically make it your own city. You don't have to make it exactly like Lisbon, Portugal in real life. But I am going to that extreme in this game, so I have to do quite a bit of terraforming as I go along. You see this whole area is a very hilly landscape, so I'm basically just clear cutting the whole area down. That way it just looks a little bit more like the actual area in real life. And yeah, I did design the map. Yeah, I did publish the map. You can actually play on it. You can create your own city with it. But I thought that this was good enough for what you might want to, do with the city. And plus, what's the fun in the game if you can't actually work on terraforming the landscape at all when you're actually playing the game, right? I mean, it's not really your city if I've designed the whole map without, you putting any input in. I mean, the people that originally settled this area did some terraforming of their own. They managed fill, and they put their own hills in some parts. I mean, a city did not look as flat as it is in America without a lot of work, like New York City. There's a lot of fill. There's a lot of excavation that went into it. I mean, cities were not really built on flat land. Japan, for instance, Tokyo has got a lot of fill. So I like the idea of being able to give the player that chooses to download this map. And there are 13 of you, actually, I think 15 of you right now that have downloaded this map. I like to give them the ability to choose what they want to do with the land. I just gave them the framework for what the area basically looks like. That way they have some kind of rough, formula to work off of. That way they could still make it their own, right? So, the road designing format that I'm going through, where I'm working on trying to make everything look as scale as possible to real life, is kind of loose. I'm not using real metrics or anything like that. I'm roughly basing it on the size of the road as well as the placement of where the curves of the landscape are and stuff like that. I'm just trying to work with the actual assets that I have in the game. I'm trying to, I don't know, make my own basically in the game to the real life comparison. And that's the fun part, right? I mean, that's the whole design part of building a city in Cities Skylines. It's not perfect. It never will be. It's a project, an art project. Now, one really annoying part about this that I worked on right now, I lost a save because my game crashed. And I was like, okay. So my game crashed. This is great. I did a bunch of work. I felt very defeated after the fact because I was like, I put in like 3 hours into this one little area and my game crashed. So it made me feel like I couldn't go any further with it. So you might have seen a little bit of work that I've done already come in that you didn't see me actually work on. And that's because of that save fail. Because, yes, I do have autosave enabled. It saves about every 5 minutes. But the game crashed and it destroyed my autosaves. Now maybe the mods that I've been using are to blame for that. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But one of the mods in the game that I have been using, the one to use to build key walls and to make elevated road segments and stuff like that, that was discontinued. And supposedly the anarchy mod actually gives you the ability to do those same exact things, which that mod did. But that's not true. The anarchy mod does not let you actually do that. And so I'm just waiting on a fix for that mod, or in addition to the anarchy mod where you can actually do it. But you'll find out that we won't be able to work on the key walls at all in this episode because of that mod problem. And maybe that mod is actually the reason why my save games are being corrupt. Who knows? Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it isn't. But we'll move forward. I think this whole project is a very good learning experience for me. Number one, because I have never really put this much time or effort into building a city in City Skylines, like planning ahead or anything like that. I mean, really, this this game is on another level. I mean, there's so much that you have to think about. There's so much that you have to take into account. So when you go into a city and you just place things, everything like that, the grid may look a little weird, might not look as organic as it should in real life. And it might not work right because everything's just piled in really quick because I don't know if it's just me or what, but whenever I'm playing the game the way you're supposed to, it always feels like I'm in a race to actually just place as much down as possible, as fast as possible, to build a city as fast as possible. That way I'm actually profitable. Because, I mean, this game, don't get me wrong, it's a great game, great logic behind it and everything, but it really forces you to just build as much as you can, as fast as you can, or else you go into the negative numbers. And it's awful like that. I don't like that version of this game. I don't like the version of the game where you can't build a city without like just being forced to build it fast and to build it without much thought. I mean, city planning in general takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of planning. And then the game has these demand features where it's like, okay, well, you've got more demand for this, less demand for that. And then when you unlock everything, it gives you high demand for everything right off the bat. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't even want to make a city with high density buildings, but I have to because the game is telling me I have to. Like, why? I do love mods for the simple fact that you can make this game whatever you want to make it. But come on, why can't the developers of the game just do something as simple as say, hey, if you want to build a small town, this is a code, or this is a coded game set up for population density of a small town or a small city. Do you want high density residential? No. Do you want high density commercial or office buildings or, anything like that? Do you want high density stores and all that kind of stuff? No, not really. I'm just building a small town and a small area. Well, that's great. That's awesome because you can build a city the way you want to. But then you have to play the game the way that the game was designed. Don't get me wrong, it was designed pretty good. I mean, I like the idea of actually getting to make a city that way, the way that, originally was intended. But at the same time, it doesn't work for the people that just want to build a city the way they want to build the city. It works for people that don't really care about building a city and that have never done it before in the game. Where I'm coming from is someone that has been playing this game for a very long time. Someone that has played Cities Skylines I. Someone that's already built cities based on their story mode, basically. And I'm not interested in building a city like that anymore. I'm more interested in building a city the way I want it to look. And I don't want it to look like everyone else's. I want to build my own city. I don't want my city to look like something you could find anywhere else. So, I get it. But I'm not really interested in that kind of city building. So that's why I play a modded version of Cities Skylines II. That's why I unlock all. That's why I have everything that I have set up in this game the way it is. I don't even like unlocking all the tiles, but my mod accidentally reset on me, so it just ended up buying all the tiles for me. I was like, oh, whatever. So we'll just deal with it. But it's not that big of a deal, and we'll move forward. But one really big thing about this game is that it's a sandbox. It is a way to make my imprint on, the landscape of the game. I can make whatever kind of city I want to make. I can have trams, I could have subways, I could have railroads. But I can really get that flexibility from a modded game. And I know that there's going to be a version for Xbox and PlayStation, but I don't really think that version will be coming out anytime soon because Colossal Order keeps on pushing it off. But the one really sad part is that they actually designed this in Paradox Mods to work for those, console players. Meanwhile, console players won't even be able to play with real code mods. They have to play with just custom assets that PC builders make. Or they can play with, maps that we create. They can't really play with code mods, and that's kind of sad. Because, not everyone has a custom built PC. And most of the time, you have to actually have a custom built PC to actually play this game without it crashing all the time. And even with a custom built PC, it still crashes all the time. So, I mean, the lack of optimization in this game is a very big hurdle that I am facing as a creator on YouTube, where I'm trying to create content based around this, where I'm trying to make actual good content without having to go back to the start and try all over again. And it's not easy. And I feel like quitting every single time I lose my place. I feel like quitting every single time my game saves fail. But I basically have, in a way, completely quit on the save games. This is my 4th version of this game. I mean, I already built the first area that I covered in the first video. I've built that in extreme detail with a ton of, assets put in, with a ton of little minor work put in. I mean, I made really nice looking areas. And I lost a lot of it. And it made me really sad, and I didn't really feel like continuing on with them. So I started from scratch all over again. Then I started from scratch all over again. And that's not really the best way to do it either, right? I mean, I put all that work in. I could have at least published those videos, but I didn't. I just have them on my computer. I did publish them to Twitch when I was doing them, but those videos didn't look great for YouTube, so I was like, I'll just give up on those. Now, it's not good to give up on things, especially not yourself. When you put so much time and effort into something, it's not good to just give up on it and throw it away. I put almost 30 hours in this map already before I even started working on these YouTube videos. And for me to just give up on those, that's a waste of my time. And that's not good. So my advice there is, don't just quit when it gets tough. I know I did. But I also didn't at the same time, because I'm doing it again. I'm just not focusing as heavily on all that little detail up front. I will be a little bit down the road. As soon as I get some services taken care of, electricity, water, sewer, waste management, all that kind of stuff. Once I get all that taken care of, then I'm gonna actually get into detailing, building a city with buildings, not just roads and railways. But I was thinking it's pretty important that I actually put in railroads and roads, that way everyone can get around. That way people can get on the highway and I don't have to worry about all that when I'm trying to build a city at the same time. So I'm working on building a city that's pretty much done by the time I actually start putting in actual citizens. That way I don't have to really worry about managing traffic while building the city. I can just build the city and manage the traffic afterwards. Now this bridge right here, this bridge is actually almost completely identical to the actual bridge in real life. The only problem is that the bridge in real life is just a 4-lane road, and this is a 6-lane road. So I can't really edit the actual bridge in the game, but I wish I could, just so that I can have it as a 4-lane road instead of a 6-lane. But the bridge is the same exact style, so I was like, I cannot go without this bridge. I have to use this bridge. And if you do notice, the roads do look a little wonky every so often. Like you'll see like really, really wiggly roads, or it just does not make sense. It does not look good. And trust me, later on I actually do fine-tooth comb through all the railroad tracks, all the roads, just to make sure that everything looks a little bit better. Like straight railroad tracks instead of wiggly ones. Because wiggly railroad tracks don't really make sense in real life. Because a train actually has to go around all that. And that just slows down the train. We don't want that. So, anyway. I promise I'm not leaving the train tracks looking like garbage. I'm actually fixing them in the future. You'll just have to see it after it's done. I don't think I recorded me fine-tuning all that stuff. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself when I get to my ADHD. I think I have ADHD. Pretty sure I have it. But it gets a little hard for me to focus on what I should be focusing on when I have it, when I should be doing certain things I'm not doing. So that's why I'm kind of jumping around all over the place. Just because that's the way my brain works. I hope you're enjoying my low tone voiceover for this whole thing. Last time I had an actual video of myself, like just looking at the camera while doing the voiceover, but this time around I'm doing a little different, not having a camera, and I'm also putting in a subtitle to the actual video, like placing roadways, railways, and subways out the way at the bottom. That's new for this video. Next video, I'm gonna have a completely changed border design. I'm gonna have a completely changed border for my camera, and I'm gonna have a different flag for the city of Lisbon. I'm trying to work on like just fine-tuning a little bit of everything every so often. With every video, I'm trying to improve on something. So the graphics, I think that they were a little lacking in this. So I just made them look a little bit better. So I hope you enjoy those when you actually get to see them in the next video. But for now, we're going to continue with this one. So I'm working on managing lanes right now in a very quick and easy way. I'm not really focusing on heavily detailing all of it. If I was, I would be working on every little side road too, putting in all the sidewalks and everything like that. I'm mostly just working on the main roads just to try and make sure that all the roads, all the bridge spans, they're all correct for all the major areas. That way, everything looks right for when I actually get to it, when I actually place some buildings. I don't think it's important to focus on all the fine details up front. I mean, there are some creators that go heavy on the little details all up front, and that's great and all. That's awesome. But the way I'm doing it is a little bit different. I'm working on trying to get everything done in general, and then later down the road, I'm going to work on those fine details. I do have plans of, like, kind of just making interesting little parts of the city, like a little treasure hunt. Um, like maybe a little kid at an ice cream truck or something, something simple, something cute, something that just kind of brings your attention into the little details of the game instead of just the broad focus of the city streets and the monotony of traffic and all that kind of stuff. So eventually I will be working on really cool, cute little stuff like that, or like little pathways that just tuck themselves away. But for now, let's get into the next part of the video.
Now let's go over all the stuff that I worked on. We've got the train station and train yard right there. That's going to be where it's going to be. And this is where the cargo hub will be, where the ships and the trains can go out. There's going to be a train station up there to the north. And this whole area is going to be filling in with densely packed city. So, let's get on with the video and get all the stations placed.
Okay, we're on the final stretch. Stations and hubs. Well, transport hub, cargo ship hub, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we're going to be working on that right now. Because we've got the tram stop right here in the middle that I didn't put in the last video, and I thought it was going to be a really important little part to this area. Eventually, the tram tracks will be going around this whole area, and there's going to be a few lines that go through this one spot. Now, I do end up putting an elevated station right in the middle. I wish I could make an actual ground floor kind of station. But I can't do that at the moment with the limitations that the mods give me. But we're going to work with it as we, go forward. I just had to put in those stations. So now we're going into the subways, placing those. It's really only that one subway and this subway over here. And all the others are pretty much north of this area or far to the east of this area, kind of in the more thick metropolis area on the right. That we're going to actually work on next video. So be ready for a bunch of like high density city work in the next video. I'm not going to build the city really in the next video. I'm not going to be putting a lot of buildings in or anything. I'm just going to be working on trying to densely pack the roads and prepping in the the actual tramways and the rail stations and all that kind of stuff. That way it all works right. Because this rail station right here goes to all those different stations. And right now in the game, we don't have access to a station that is an end of the line rail station like this is. So I had to create my own. That's why I didn't use an asset that the actual game gave you. Now this one, it was a little tiny, and I didn't really feel like dealing with an actual like train station that they have in the game that they gave us. And this one, I just wanted to keep going with the custom train stations. I didn't want to deal with um, the train stations that are already in the game. So I'm creating my own train stations. It's just my thing now. I'm just gonna keep going with that every single video. Just new train station. I'm just gonna make it myself. So yeah, be ready for those in the future. But there is a little bit of fine tuning that has to go into them, just to get all the paths right and everything. Like putting a bridge over the actual train station and connecting that path down to the actual platforms is not really easy. I have to use some invisible paths, like right there, there, and there. But you know what? We're gonna work with it. Maybe in the future I'm gonna actually get stair assets that work right in that area. But this station was a little bit long, so I thought that it would make sense to have like two sets of like stops. That way some stops stop further down the train track, other stops stop a little bit closer. And then I went really crazy with this cargo ship hub. So I put 3 hub connections right in this area. Now it was crazy because the other side is actually just as big as this side, but I didn't have as much room over there because I was working with the actual, like, you know, marina that's on the other side of the cargo rail hub. So I didn't put in as many as I could have. I did think that this area was great for it. I definitely had enough space, and I managed it a little bit better for all that. And I definitely put in storage for all the stuff that we import and export out of the city and into the city. I just hope this whole area works properly. If you can't tell, I actually put in the train tracks through the buildings there, and I know that wasn't really an idea that would work, but yeah, let's get into the end.
Okay, so here we are. I put in the cargo ship hubs, and I also put in the tram hub, or the tram station right here. The tram line is going to go all up here. It's going to continue on through up here. And then I put the train station right here, a metro line right here. I also put a metro line over here, as well as a train station right here, a train station right there, and this area is complete. Now, during the recording of this video, I do not have access to making key walls anymore by just, placing key walls or elevated road segments or anything like that. So I'm gonna eventually get to work on the key walls for this area, but not today. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a really fun project, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. I hope you have a great day.